Despite being out of contract at the end of the season, there was never a doubt in anyone's mind that Fernando Alonso would be retiring. Despite turning 43 this summer, he proves at every race that his age means nothing and his experience means he can outrace anyone on the grid. His decision to stay at Aston Martin, considering all the other options in the sport at the moment, has surprised many people. His decision to leave Alpine in 2022 triggered the sport's silly season then, and his decision to stay at Aston Martin now may have done the same thing. Today, I'll tell you why he made the right choice to stay and what the knock-on effect will be now. So, don't go anywhere. Fernando Alonso's love and joy for Formula One is so obvious every time you see him on screen in the paddock or in interviews. His time at Aston Martin has reinvigorated him and renewed his love for the sport. He's now at a team that appreciates the talent they have, appreciates the effort he puts in, and understands that Alonso is still a driver that can win races and is one of the best in the business. So really, it isn't that much of a surprise that he's signed a contract extension that will keep him at Aston Martin until at least the end of 2026. The Spanish two-time world champion will be 43 in July, and his new contract will mean he'll be racing in F1 until at least the age of 45. Alonso is rewriting the sport's rulebook, and the remarkable thing about it is that he does not even seem to consider it extraordinary. "I felt I love too much driving that I cannot stop at the moment," said Alonso. "The sacrifices you have to make are smaller than the passion I have for driving. I breathe F1, I live F1, I train to be fit for F1, I eat to be fit to drive F1. It didn't arrive the moment I felt the need to change lifestyle. I love what I do. I will not be happy sitting at home watching F1 because at the moment I still feel I should be there." On the performance front, there can be little doubt about that. Alonso was one of the outstanding performers of last season, as Aston Martin made a remarkable leap from the middle of the pack to the front at the start of the year. 6 podiums in the first 8 races followed, including some outstanding drives. And although the team's performance level dropped in the second part of the season, Alonso's did not. His drive to 3rd in Brazil at the end of the season, holding off Sergio Perez's Red Bull for 16 laps and then repassing it on the final lap after the Mexican had finally got by, was a masterpiece. When it comes to wheel-to-wheel racing, there is no one better on the grid than Alonso. If reports are to be believed, then Alonso had the pick of the grid for where he wanted to drive next year. Whether it was a move to Red Bull to match up against Max Verstappen, or a spot at Mercedes to try and show Hamilton what can be done with that car, the world was his oyster. He's had fun with it as well, taking his time and saying he's in no rush to make a decision. As the experienced competitor that he is, it's no big surprise that he wanted to play the field a bit. But after the Japanese Grand Prix, he gave a pretty clear indication of what his plans were. When asked if he was going to be looking for a spot at Mercedes, Alonso replied with a brutal takedown of the Brackley-based squad. "That's a very good question, but Mercedes is behind us, so it doesn't feel that attractive." Alonso's reasoning behind staying at Aston Martin is clear. It isn't just that he's well loved and in a better car than he would be at Mercedes, it's what the team have to offer from 2026 onwards. A significant factor in the Spaniard's positivity is that Aston Martin have secured a deal to have their engines supplied from 2026 onwards by Honda, the Japanese manufacturer currently powering Red Bull. "I think in 2026 we're going into the unknown for sure in terms of regulations," Alonso said. "But if I had to choose one, my feeling is I would choose our project and our engine and our power unit. One, it's because I think they, meaning Honda, are dominating the sport now. They have a very, very strong engine with Red Bull and RB. And second, because with the new fuels and the new regulations, they will have all the tools available to succeed." Not only are Honda coming on board and solely supplying Aston Martin from 2026 onwards, but the team are in the final stages of moving into a brand new facility at Silverstone. Featuring state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities and a cutting-edge wind tunnel, the team are far better equipped to deal with the new regulations than any other team. If, and it is a big if, but if Aston Martin were to develop a championship-challenging car while Alonso was on the team, a driver's title would make him the second oldest F1 champion in the sport's history. If he stuck around for another year or two, then he could even beat the late great Juan Manuel Fangio, who secured his final title in 1957 at the age of 46 years and 41 days. With Alonso's decision on his future made, the fate of the other 11 seats that are empty, 12 if you count Lance Stroll, are a little bit clearer. Though Lance's position for next season hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, the press release from Aston Martin did include a little line from Alonso which may have confirmed his position at the team in the future. It read, "I'm very grateful for the trust Lawrence, Martin and Mike have put in me, and with Lance, I am excited to see what else we can achieve together." So perhaps we should be filling in his name on next season's wall charts. Hamilton's decision to make the move to Ferrari and the early season instability at Red Bull made the market look incredibly fluid for the first few races, but things are starting to calm down. Perhaps the excitement of it all got to people, but the odds of Verstappen ditching Red Bull for Mercedes seem close to none right now, though the Christian Horner scandal could rear its ugly head again yet. What is clear is that Red Bull was not in a position to move for Alonso, as Alonso's real value there would be as a short-term Max Verstappen replacement if it couldn't hold on to him, rather than as a Sergio Perez replacement alongside Verstappen, as that could have pulled the team apart. Red Bull's options are now looking slim for the second seat. Daniel Ricciardo has driven himself out of contention in what has been a very disappointing return to the sport. Horner has never really been interested in Helmut Marko's pet project Yuki Tsunoda. Alex Albon could still be an option, but he's unlikely to want to go back after how they treated him. That leaves Carlos Sainz or a very informed Sergio Perez, who's been pretty much faultless this season. General consensus around the sport is that they don't want Sainz, which means Perez is going to stay where he is for another season at least, something almost incomprehensible just 6 months ago. With Sainz looking for a long-term drive and Mercedes unwilling to give one due to their junior talent, Carlos's options are limited. One of the bottom 5 teams is going to pick up a very good driver, and the likeliest option is Sauber. There are plenty of people linking him to Williams as well, which would give the Mercedes customer team an incredible lineup of Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz, a complete mismatch to their position in the Constructors' Championship. Though if they could improve the car, then with those two drivers, there is every chance that Mercedes could find themselves slower than their 3 customers, Aston Martin, McLaren and Williams. Who knows what would happen to Toto Wolff if that eventuality occurred? For Carlos, the long-term possibility of Audi's F1 project starting in 2026 at the Sauber team is definitely the best option, and one that most people thought would happen anyway. Then there is the Mercedes empty seat. They were looking for someone for a year, perhaps 2 at most, just to hold a spot until Andrea Kimi Antonelli was ready to make the step up. With Alonso tied up though, and Sainz not interested in 1-year deals, then Antonelli might find himself catapulted into the spotlight much earlier than expected. Team principal Toto Wolff has now confirmed that Antonelli is in the strongest position to take a seat at the Brackley-based squad next year. I want to see how his F2 season develops, but we'll wait and see what happens with some of the other drivers in F1. I don't doubt his raw speed, talent and ability. We wouldn't have supported him from go-karting until now if we didn't believe that he has the potential to go into F1 and do so with Mercedes. Many young drivers have shown in the past that you can do that step. The young driver won't turn 18 until later in the year, and a step into F1 would be a massive move. But with Mercedes nowhere near a race win or championship, then the pressure would be off as the team enter into a rebuilding phase. In fact, it would probably be the perfect time for him to join. His F2 teammate Oliver Behrman has already made an F1 appearance this year with Ferrari, where he impressed in Australia, but back in the junior category, Antonelli has comfortably had the better of his teammates so far. While he may be in pole position for that Mercedes seat, and he may have the full faith of Toto Wolff, the Mercedes boss's last 2 picks of junior drivers were pretty bad calls. He peddled Nick de Vries to the grid for years before he was thoroughly underwhelming in his first season, and decided to try and back Mick Schumacher after the ex-Haas driver proved he was not of F1 standard. Do you think Alonso has made the right decision to stick with Aston Martin? And how do you think this will affect the rest of the grid? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.